tell me the countdown.
All right.
5, 4, 3, 2.
Welcome to the Gilchrist experience. What a thrilling day today. Trump and Harris had a battle last night that was entertaining, as everyone said. But today we're going to talk about 2025, and we have Reverend Ronald McHenry. Welcome.
Greetings
Welcome,
to
brother.
you all from afar. Yeah, what a debate last night. As we were listening to the debate, there were many times during the debate of where Trump basically denounced Project 2025. And so we know that a lot of the rhetoric that he's been saying aligns with this 1,000-page document. There are claims that individuals connected to his previous administration, such as John McEntee and others, have helped draft this thousand-page policy. And basically, Project 2025 comes from the Heritage Foundation. They were founded in 1973 with the main goal of shaping the future of conservative administrations. And so even though Donald Trump is not saying that he endorses Project 2025, we know that a lot of the things that he says align strictly to these 1,000 pages, and it also aligns strictly to what his party has been talking about. So when we look at Project 2025, we see all kinds of things. And one of the things that pop out right away is the fact that they want to change many of the federal agencies, education, immigration, and various sectors, aiming to reduce bureaucracy and for more presidential control over these institutions. So the first thing that we see specifically when we're looking through this Project 2025 is authoritarian rule. So even Trump saying that he is not for Project 2025, we know that the Supreme Court just gave the presidency immunity, which aligns straight up with Project 2025, grants the president almost unlimited power with traditional congressional checks within the first 188 days. So in this document, in the first 180 days of being president, they cannot be checked, which is basically going back to having a king in this country. We know that they've stacked the Supreme Court with right-wing judges. That's also in the referendum of the Project 2025. They're also looking to militarize domestic affairs. So in Project 2025, they're talking about using military to break up domestic protests, including potentially using deadly force against protesters, immigrants, opponents. And even though that this is in Project 2025, and even though Trump denounces Project 2025, we've heard him talk about and try to use the army in putting down protests. So even though he's against it, a lot of things that he says is directly in it. Another thing that we see is that state-controlled media, he wants to target and revoke the license of media outlets that oppose administration. Now, we know that he is the one who came up with the slogan fake news. In Project 2025, it would give the president and the government the power to go after particular administrations. So he's going to be able to weaponize federal agencies. He's going to take the FBI over, the DOJ, and he's going to possibly minimize their power and their efficiency. He wants to dismantle government agencies. He wants to eliminate, we talked about, the Department of Education. They're talking, in Project 2025, they're talking about eliminating Head Start programs, food vouchers, rollback initiatives that support public education. They're talking about defunding financial protection bureaucracies. They're talking about FDA oversight and weakening protections of everyday Americans. They're talking about rolling back environmental protections. They're talking about cutting FEMA funds. They're talking about ending the Affordable Care Act. They're talking about privatizing Social Security and Medicare. I'm going to say it again. Privatizing Social Security and Medicare. Well, what is that? That is shifting these essential programs that we all need, which could lead to many of us without these benefits. They're talking about tax breaks for the wealthy. So we know that in Project 2025, they're outlining these things. Even though Trump is saying he's not with Project 2025, a lot of the policies and a lot of things he's talked about aligns directly with Project 2025. White Christian nationalist agenda. So I don't know if Trump is that religious, but we know that in Project 2025, they're talking about replacing science and history education with Christian teachings to promote white Christian nationalism and to ban topics such as slavery, to ban topics such as civil rights, LGBTQ discussions. And we know that, again, Trump has said that he's not for Project 2025, but during his administration and and we've seen these Republicans take a fight against and take up the war on woke. So the Project 2025 continues to further that conversation with the war on woke. So they want to restrict reproductive rights. So we know that Trump, even though he's saying he's not with this project, has his Supreme Court appointees have overturned Roe v. versus Wade. So they want to make sure that that is not just implemented by state, but they're looking to ban it nationally. They want to, as we know, they dismantled voting rights. They dismantled Roe v. versus Wade. They dismantled affirmative action. But they're looking to dismantle civil rights next, right? They're not satisfied. The beast is not satisfied with what it has. They're coming for civil rights. So everything that happened in the 60s, they're looking to reverse it. They're looking to take us back to the 1850s. What we have noticed also is that for some reason, also in Project 2025, they are very big on immigration. They want to basically ban Muslim immigration. They want to eliminate DACA protections. They're also looking for some reason to repeal labor laws when it comes to child labor, when it comes to overtime, when it comes to dangerous work conditions. They're looking to take us back. They're looking to crush public and private unions. They want to curtail what the powers of the unions have. They want to put unions under the power of executive power. As we all know, they want to expand gun rights and expansion. They want to overturn state-level bans on assault weapons and remove that. Even though Trump has said he's not for Project 2025, we know that his big donors, and we know that many of them are for the weapons. So that is all I have for you as far as Project 2025. It's a 1,000-page document, but many things that we've heard Trump say, like when Mexicans send its people, they're not sending their best. They're bringing drugs, they're bringing crime, they're bringing rapists. We know Trump has said many slanderous things about certain groups. When it comes to Christian nationalists, he says we're going to protect Christianity, and I can say that. I don't have to be politically correct. So we know that Project 2025, even though he's denouncing it left and right, really aligns up with a lot of his rhetoric, right? He says we won't. So as far as
what's our
watching that
solution?
debate last night,
What's our
hello?
solution? What's our solution, Ron?
Our solution is to
elect.
get out the vote. Kamala Harris and Walsh 2025, let's go. We need to put boots on the ground. We need to get together. We need to organize. We need to mobilize. And we need to get together on Sunday and pray about this. We need to meet on Monday and take it to them. On Tuesday, we need to work it out. On Wednesday, we need to thank the Lord. On Thursday, we need to fight the power. On Friday, we need to set it off. On Saturday, we need to get a few hours of sleep and then wake up on Monday and do this all over again. We got to take this serious. We got to partner with organizations all around, and we have to make sure that this president doesn't get back in.
Thank you, Ron.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's a real contribution. That's good. A real contribution. You were here. Thank you, brother. As you see, Ron's been a family for quite a while now. Now that he's running National Action Network. So what do we have here? Project 2025, which Trump is denying. And what say you, folks? Grant?
Well,
What was your
you-
experience last night?
oh man. Satirical humor that I expressed to a number of friends during the course of the alleged debate.
Circus.
As they say in the hood, wax that, beat that. I was sending messages out to my friends with all kinds of diagrams on it. But we know that Donald Trump cannot engage in serious discourse. And you saw it with that economic group that he met with last week in New York when he was talking about child care.
Yeah,
So
it's a joke.
it's only fitting that here is a man that's been convicted 34 counts. The biggest case I had was 16 indictments on one guy. This guy has 34.
You
He's
mean-
running for the presidency of the
You
United
mean you're
States.
20 years on the force?
I had one guy with 16 indictments. I indicted him on 16 different cases.
Okay.
And it's interesting, Ilsa and I were talking last night, you know, there are men that cannot vote in this country because of their convictions.
I was just going to say that.
Ah,
And
right,
this is a man that's been convicted
right.
34 times in one trial,
Mm-hmm,
and he's running for president.
right.
The NAACP or another group needs to take a case into Supreme Court, guaranteeing the right to vote to all people, regardless of whether or not they have served time for a felony or not.
I thought we had that already.
No, it goes by state. Each state
Ah,
has their own
okay,
laws.
all right.
In New York, a
That's right.
convicted felon can vote
That's
once you
right.
finish your parole.
That's right, it's a state law.
But you never get to vote in Texas, you never get to vote in
Mm.
Florida and other states.
All
And
the
these
red
are some of the
states.
key states wherein the Republicans maintain control over the black population. If you get arrested and charged and quickly convicted,
Mm.
you'll never vote again. There are various ways of affecting the vote. And we have to look at all of these manners in which they use to eliminate black people from voting. When Trump talks about these murderers and these rapists coming into the country,
Right.
62% of all rapists in the United States are white males.
Yeah,
62%.
I thought it was more.
So why are they worrying about Spanish-speaking people, Asians or Africans coming into the country when their own people are the problem? Just with regard to maintaining the sanctity of white women. It is white men who are the major violators of women in the country. Not to forego mentioning the guy running for president.
Let's talk about him and his buffoonery last night. What do you say?
I find it comedic. I mean, it's funny how a man is looking to have so much power in his hand and has the audacity to say that these migrants are eating their dogs.
Oh, wow, yeah.
That's got to be somebody that's really, really incompetent. There's got to be something mentally wrong with him. And us, people have to realize what we're about to do. We're about to put somebody in position that's going to be the strongest person in the country, if not the world. And if you truly believe that the gentleman that is up there and talking about people are eating their dogs, stealing their cats, and everything else is the person to be in that position, then
You-
something is really,
You know
really
the
wrong.
response I got from that? My daughter called me and said, do you realize he's saying that? What she said to me, the people out there in Kansas who don't know immigrants, Haitians, they don't know their customs. These people are believing that
They
stuff.
do believe it.
People, you'd be shocked at the amount of people that say, oh, is that what they do?
But he's
So
a great-
all this stuff, all this junk he's putting out,
xenophobia.
The people out there
Right, right,
believing this
fear,
stuff.
and people wind up getting hurt by this, physically hurt. They would remember the rumors they had about Hillary Clinton. They said they had children locked in basements. They were doing things to them, and a guy went into a place and killed somebody. These more than ridiculous statements are taken to heart
Yeah.
by very ignorant people, and they then go out to perform a role of vigilantism against an innocent individual.
One of the things that I think we should be aware of is that he's a master entertainer.
Oh,
As such, he gets the interest of an audience, and he's able to manipulate that
Right.
interest. So when he starts talking about foreigners or blah, 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 a whole lot of people say, yeah, you know, you're right. We should get rid of foreigners. Oh, yeah, you're absolutely right. Well, let's all meet, and we saw what happened January 6th. This is the kind of actions that follow people being indoctrinated into ignorance. He is saying things, and sometimes I really don't even think that he understands what he's saying. He's a puppet
knows what
speaking.
he's saying.
I think he's being manipulated in some cases, that he's a puppet speaking the words that other people have fed to him. Because this is part of what has been his allure for a great many years. He makes money by being able to con you, and he's able to con people right into the point of throwing us in jail or pulling the trigger on us.
if you noticed, Trump is like a Jim Jones. You know,
Good
if you
comparison.
notice when he talks, he repeats and he repeats
Yeah.
and he repeats, and the more you repeat something to a person, the more they get it stuck in your mind that that's the way it is. And he never says when he ends, he never says one thing, the same thing once. He has to repeat it, and all he's doing has been massaging their mind all along to get them to believe whatever he wants. He's the greatest hustler that I've ever seen.
Yeah, oh yeah. He's a
The
New
old
York
Republican
hustler.
mantra, tell the lie long enough.
Often
You know,
enough.
believe it. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And what the saying part of the press, I watched an item just this morning from Wall Street Journal, where I was trying to download it to give it a roll in. It's been a great presentation on how the saying part of our government backs them by dismissing some of these things. You know, bypassing me. Sean Hannery got on there, and it was like Trump was in front of a psychiatrist, a psychologist. He pumped him up. I watch these things to see what Fox does in their presentation. And you would never know half of the stuff that's going on listening to this alternate media. And it's amazing how much they brainwash people. In the same way, they take apart truth and turn it around. Exactly what they're doing, they say we're doing. And it's clever. It's a clever way to manipulate. This is a mind-altering state, especially for people that are out there in the Midwest who don't get as much exposure to people. The New York, you get on the subway, you got a UN.
Right.
But you go out to Kansas and in a lot of these places, they don't meet black people. ordinary.
And part of what is happening is that there are parts of this country where white folk are numerically a minority, and they are being told that within the next 15, 20 years, most of America will be non-white. That puts some very conservative and paranoid white folks
But you
in a
have to
position where they're going to
understand,
strike out.
with the history of this country, if you just go through the truth about slavery, I'd be scared too.
They fear that
I'd
we
be
will
s-
do to them what
This
they've
is
done to us.
fear. This is plain fear. They know they're wrong, but they don't have an out because they're white.
Right. And
Now, instead of becoming rational and becoming human being and forget about white supremacy, forget about making America great again, as Donald Trump supposedly is an example of a white supremacist. But they see this man, and they still go along with it.
he tells them what they want to hear.
It's
Well,
so,
we cannot forget that racism is a core essence of
The United States.
That's not going away. NYU had a course. All right, Obama came in 08. NYU offered a course maybe in 09 or 2010. And the title of the course was America in the Post-Racial Era.
yeah.
Now, I don't know what the tuition is at NYU, but the credibility of that course was as credible as Trump University. We are not in a post-racial era. Never have, and we never will be. And in the 1850s in South Carolina, they were talking about emancipating their slaves in the 1850s because the blacks outnumbered the whites 10-1. Many of the slaves who escaped slavery came out of South Carolina. Like my great-great-grandfather. He put a hatchet in a man's head and said goodbye. So they were thinking about it then. Fast forward 100 years to 1953, you have Eisenhower, who was the president, who wanted to purge the United States. He wanted to purge the United States of these Latinos. Well, they weren't Latinos, Mexicans. And he had a program, and you can look it up, the Wetback Program. This is nothing new. It is a repeat of history in this country. They picked up Mexicans through California, New Mexico, and Arizona. People going about their business were picked up off the street, put on buses, and dropped in Mexico.
Well,
These were U.S. citizens, not even immigrants. They owned businesses, they owned homes. They were kidnapped by the government. And what Trump is talking about in terms of the soldiers, you know, taking people, shooting people in demonstrations, all this comes back. It's a repeat. And we better be very keen and aware of this Project 25. And when you go look at it online, you don't have to buy it, it's online. And look at the names of the people that have contributed.
So-called scholars.
Go and start researching the people who have drafted this document and the organizations, all the foundations, and all of these organizations with these flowery words. They're all part of the American dynamic of racism and isolationism.
And preservation of white superiority in politics.
Well, on the positive side,
There's
we
a
talked
positive
about
side?
all the drama and all the hate and all that's going on negative. But I saw Kamala give us a breath of hope, a rationale of what America's supposed to be, people who love this country, contradictory to all the hypocrisy, the demonic forces that will take us everywhere. And every time I say, the closer you get to God, that's when the demons come out. So we've got to watch ourselves. We've got to watch the demons in ourselves. So all of us got that hate and anger in us about what's happened in the past. You know, I don't know anybody that black, brown, or colored, or anything that doesn't have a beef about hatred. I mean, the Irish and the English were a classic example. That 1,000-year war. And they were white people fighting over what? Different religion? The same religion. and that's the buffoonery of it all. You look at that history. No wonder they are the way they are. You know, kings and queens, and they had the serfs, and they were the Irish. And the Irish went through that for 900 years. And they come over here and become overseers.
And the Irish were
In
not
America.
white. They were not considered white.
Yeah, that's it. But everybody's got a beef. The Italians had a beef when they got here. Everybody's got a beef. I should have ran that thing about Martin. Well, what I'm trying to do today is understand that we all got what I personally want to deal with our problems as black people, how we deal with the Willie Lynch syndrome. That's a topic that we really need to go into, how we deal with each other. And this is our problem. Now we have to understand all the hate that's been taught that Jesus was white. Oh God, I got no argument with it. You know, the way the Muslims and Malcolm and Martin fought in the 60s. Malcolm was calling Martin a punk because he was worshiping the white man's religion. Everybody knows Jesus was black.
Right.
This is our internal struggle, how we deal with each other. So once we solve that, we can present Kamala, a colored person.
Well, President Kamala Harris,
Kamala.
as well as President Obama.
Kamala?
Kamala.
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 Trump gave him
Out of the
okay.
mouths of
We'll
babes.
get it
Trump
together.
said you can name it anything you want.
The next president, as well as the past President Obama, they have done quite a bit in terms of reaching out to the psyche of black folk.
Okay.
First, the thing is to understand that being positive is always stronger than
Right.
being negative. And they've both said that in different words. Even in the debate last night, you found that Kamala was saying to people, this is part of what we can do, and here is the hopeful picture of the future. She worked hard and diligently to stay away from the negative stuff that other guy was doing. That is the critical part of what has helped us to survive this many years on this planet. Because we were here, we were the ones who built the civilizations, and we have to maintain that kind of attitude, recognizing that our strength is one with God who created us, and recognizing that our strength has to be within each other. Because if they're able to divide us, and Republicans and the Democrats sometimes are very busy doing that, if they're able to divide us, we may be an extinct subspecies in a matter of years. Our challenge is to recognize the people who strengthen and unify us. And this is the choice for Election Day coming up. We have to choose somebody who will unify and strengthen us. The other people, the other person might be an entertainer, but we don't want that person to be making decisions
All right.
for us.
Tell me this. We as men look at this little sister, they're doing a bang-up job. But do we really have faith that she knows what she's doing?
I
Are
have
we
no,
as men?
I have no doubt. It's not about her as a woman.
Okay.
Let's
Well, how
look
many men, black men can do that?
Let's look at black women in the last year
You know?
with regard to that man.
Yeah.
Let's
Right.
go to Atlanta, Georgia.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Oh.
Okay? Let's go to Atlanta,
Whoa.
Georgia. Wait, we don't have to go that far. We can talk about my old friend, Tish
There you
James.
should go.
Ooh.
My
There you
old
go.
friend, whom I've known for 30-something years. I can't tell you what we talked about, but whip it, okay?
Mm-hmm.
She took him into court.
Right.
You have a black DA in Manhattan who took Trump into court. You have another black DA in Georgia
Right.
that took him to court. Black women could not rent an apartment in a building that he and his father owned, but they can sure take him into court and win cases against him.
Right?
Kamala, and I was sitting there, my wife, I used to love doing trials. And she did a summation to the jury, which was you and I, in the closing statement. As a tactician, and I thought of Alton Maddox as she was doing her
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
thought of Alton, and I had
Yeah.
the program from his memorial there on the desk in
Yeah.
front of me as it was going on. But to see black women
Mm-hmm.
dealing with a sexist, dealing
Yeah.
with this racist, dealing with this liar, checking him consistently.
A clown.
And we know that although Judge Cannon in Florida
Yeah.
is working with him, hopefully to get a seat on the Supreme Court maybe,
Yeah.
she is not going to be able to succeed in that effort, I believe. Yes, they pushed back the sentencing to November.
After the elections.
But once again, we have black women who have grabbed this guy, sat him down, charged him, and come up with convictions. And as bad as things got down there in Georgia with that case, the fact is he committed the crime.
Yeah.
He made the phone call. That is what we call the overt act. It is not conspiratorial. You have a conspiracy, but he made the overt act of interfering in a federal election. The case was filed in Georgia, but not in the federal court. It was filed in the state court because he was interfering with the state election process. But the crime that he committed, the additional crime that he committed, is a federal crime.
Yeah.
And we all heard that. I need 11,847, whatever.
But
It's
how
right
is
there.
it that we always have an argument that's typical of the white man, and they're going to do you dirty no matter what, and people give up and want to run back to Africa? I'm giving up on this country. Oh, the white man's never going to do you right. We might as well tune up. And Kenny?
I just want to go back to what we were saying about this black woman. I wasn't raised I didn't have a mother. I didn't meet
Ooh.
my mother till I was 21.
Ooh.
But I know that the women that I had that raised me were strong black women.
Yeah,
And a lot of them were single black women.
yeah.
And I probably never met a stronger man that a man as strong as the black women that raised me. Yeah, I took a path and may have done some other things. But if all of us believed and loved and trusted in our mothers the way we did when we were children to this day as being men, we can trust in Kalama House.
Well, I give them
Kalama
even
House.
better credit than that. I call them the human gods of the planet.
There you go.
They're the ones who give life. I mean, to every man, especially a black man, if you look at the female as being God, I mean, you got to. Where you come from? Who's your creator? I mean, but give that women that respect. Do you realize where we be? Look who got us through slavery. Oh, God damn.
And I was
That's
just,
why God has sent us Kamala.
Come
I
on.
was just talking about
I think she's a gift from God.
In many
That was
ways, she is.
exactly my point.
In
You
many
came
ways,
right
she
in
is.
with it.
And we,
Is she
the
black?
She's colored.
she colored.
That makes it
Caucasian.
even better.
Caucasian, I think was the
We didn't
equivalent.
leave anybody out. She's colored.
Oh, because
Yes.
Trump
She-
said that she was
She
something
used to
else.
be,
and
she used to be
became
something
color
else,
black.
and she became black
she became
when she entered
I always
the
enjoyed
presidential
color.
race.
Yeah.
Like, because I can get different shades of color.
But the women who birthed us have done some magnificent things, and the product of that is not just here in this particular panel, but the women who birthed us have done some wonderful things in our community that need to be pointed to and need to be lauded.
The strongest
One of
women
the
in the world.
things, and you mentioned about getting rid of the Department
Hey.
of Education, one of the things that guy has been talking about for years and years and years is re-educating us because there are certain truths he does not want to be part of our conversation. There are certain things he does not want children of color to be learning in school. Particularly, they've had to fight in Georgia and in Florida. There are things about our mothers, sacrifices that they have made that have strengthened and brought us literally to life that have to be acknowledged, but acknowledging that he and others feel would weaken their position.
Listen, they hired them and took care of them and took care of us at the same time.
Right.
You know, who's capable of doing that? But
Okay.
a black woman. Come on.
Man, I had a ball when I was a kid. Me and Bev were talking about this morning. How it was being in New York and Harlem in the 40s. You know, in the 40s. I was a cute kid, so I had all this energy. Oh,
He was a cute kid.
I was a cute kid. Oh, I was a cute baby. Oh, all babies are cute.
Things have
But
changed.
I was a cute baby in the 40s during the war. 41 I was born. And Harlem, man,
Black women
one of the
built
nice
and
ones.
I mean,
sustained us
but all
for
that love
hundreds of
energy,
years.
I mean, it happens to all of us. Happened to my grandson. My grandson, man, he had the same sort of love energy that I had. All of us had it. If you don't remember it, then that's your bad.
And that's a threat to people who don't look like us. The fact that our mothers have been able to take care of somebody else's baby, come home and take care of us,
And we still
and do
smile.
it in such a magnificent way, that is a threat to a whole lot of people. And we have to understand that's part of why they look to put us down, they look to squash us, because they recognize in us certain strengths, certain realities that they don't see when they look in the mirror.
No, women find something cute in ugly babies.
They will.
they'll find
Ain't no
something
baby
cute
ugly.
and ugly baby.
But let me say, like the
I
girl
mean,
said
a
last night.
child might
there
be
is no
ugly as hell. I didn't
baby
just,
that gets killed. There is no.
I'm just
ugly
saying
baby.
I got a special.
Right.
I mean, if you want a cute kid, I mean, that's your problem. I mean, even ugly kids got love.
I'm one of those ugly babies,
Yeah.
But
and I had
women
lots
just
of
have
love.
that. I mean, if God is love,
God
mean,
is a black
we're-
woman.
she creates you. She gives you all the love energy. And where do you go when you get hurt? Everybody, mama, where's my
Look at
mama?
George Floyd crying
Oh,
out to his
God.
mother.
Yes.
Man.
Oh my damn.
Woo! Whoa!
Last minutes, his last breath.
Wow!
You know,
You know you're going then. That's when I got
Trauma.
hurt. Whew.
the trauma that black people have been through.
Wow.
And we live in an age where now we can watch the story. We don't
Ouch.
hear it.
Mm-hmm.
We watch a black man murdered,
Dying in front of us.
and a girl is filming it.
Right? She caught it.
She's standing there. A young girl is filming the murder of a black man in the street in her presence.
Sounds like
And
the plantation.
I think about that young lady.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know her name, but I'm wondering to this day what effect has that had on her
psyche,
psychologically.
Yep. Exactly.
I have seen
She
people
needed
die.
protection. She had to be protected.
Yeah, I've seen people die, but not murdered in my presence. I've watched people die, but not murdered in my presence. And those events I saw as a grown man, not as a child.
But your mother strengthened you to be able to see that ugliness and still be able to survive. Some people would have gone off the deep end, but the strength that our mothers put into us allow us to survive all the crap that they throw at us and then say, let me move forward, hold on to my brother or sister and say, we got a job to do. I'll always love my mama. Who was it sang that song 3 years
I'll
ago?
always love my.
I'm going to bring this up for a minute, and I don't want to talk too much about it. But I've been meaning for the last 2 months to talk about dealing with death. But I'm not prepared to talk about it today because I don't feel like crying.
Crying is good, brother.
I don't feel like
Sometimes it
crying
washes
today.
the
Crying is
soul.
good.
I want to be happy. I
Crying is
saw
When you're not happy,
an
crying is good.
experience. I don't want to deal with that. Leroy not being here, man,
Rest in
hurts
peace.
me to my
Brother
heart.
Leroy Baylor, those who don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, Brother Leroy was a cornerstone of my upbringing. My wife and I, we all grew up together on the same corner. Leroy was 2 days apart from me, yet he was a Muslim. And we fought about Elijah Muhammad and Malcolm.
As
And-
brothers do.
And I called, you remember that show I did? I
Yeah,
called
yeah.
I called him a pedophile, and it hurt Leroy to his heart. And I couldn't forgive myself for hurting him like that, because he was raised a Catholic, mind you. That is the white supremacy of religion. You know, the Catholicism. I mean, you don't get any supremacist than that.
Well,
And
keep
he
in
took
mind-
in, and his rationale for following Elijah Muhammad was that he helped our people. He took people that were down and out and raised them out of the gutter and gave them an insight on how to live, how to improve themselves. So he didn't care about the women, the kids, but that's how I rationalized. We wound up doing shows for 10 years. And he remember putting Kevin Muhammad on the show?
yeah.
Kevin Muhammad got on the show, and he said, he did it for his audience, that I was worshiping the white man's religion. Me being Gilchrist, worker for Christ, and all this other stuff. And I took it and said, oh, that's how you want to treat me, brother? You know?
But the understanding.
Now, this is the infighting that we have amongst
Right.
ourselves. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. You
So-
There are
the-
people who would love to exploit that, and we have to be very aware of this clown who was on TV last night, because that's part of what he would pit us against each other and exploit that for his benefit. diminishing in number, diminishing in stature. He recognizes that white people are not going to rule the world forever. And that's part of his, I think, mentally what's pushing him over the edge.
Well, I want to give Kenny an opportunity to talk about that a little bit if you want,
On what?
dealing with that.
Oof. I don't think there's enough time, but
Okay.
it's I appreciate that. Very few minutes, what I would say to you, okay, because I had a brief experience with Brother Leroy, and the experience that that he gave
Ooh,
me
wow.
within the 10 minutes that he gave me
Oh,
was like a year's worth of work. Year's worth of information. But what I will say to you, Mr. Gilchrist, and like I said, hopefully we can pick this up at another time.
Yeah.
They say it gets better with time. It gets easier with time. I lost a son 30 years ago. 10 years old. And
He was 10 years old.
10 years old.
Oh,
He died from respiratory failure, which contributed to a heart attack. And for years and years and
Heart
years.
attack
10-year-old.
at
10
10?
At 10. He was that much of a chronic asthmatic. What people don't understand with asthma, when it's hard for you to breathe, it draws off your heart. It's harder for your heart to work. And he was an asthmatic since birth. And as time went along, the asthma got worse. And again, this was 30 years ago, where the medication wasn't as good as it is today. So it was real difficult for him to, grow up in the correct way. Plus, his mother and I had separated, so I wasn't there to, put down the hand that needed to be put down, that certain things be done the right way. But what I did, and like I said, I'm always short for time. What I did that I thought was helping me, I drank, I sniffed,
Oh, yeah.
I had women, I fornicated.
Ameliorate the pain.
And it was just to hide the pain. And it did nothing for my family. It just destroyed almost everything that I had. But what I turned around and I realized, and just this year alone, I realized, let me stop mourning him. And let me celebrate the life that I had with him.
10 good years.
And it was 10 fantastic years. Normally at this point in time, when I talk about my son, I'd be boo-hooing. But I sit back and I'm like, wow, when I think about it, it's like, I had a great time with him. He touched people within his 10-year time. His funeral was one of the largest funerals in the Bensonhurst area. And not to brag about it, next to, what's the fellow that the mafioso that got shot up at stakes?
Gallo?
Castellano?
Castellano.
Tall Paul?
Yeah,
Castellano.
his funeral was just as big as his, if not bigger. And all it showed me is that's how many people that he touched in his 10 years. So on his 30th anniversary, I decided that I'm not going to cry. I'm not going to cry for him no more. I'm going to praise his time that he was here. And what I would say to you is that enjoy the time that you had with Brother Leroy. Because I tell you, I talk about him tooth and nail, hand over foot. I've never, ever experienced that type of education in that short of period of time.
Well, he gave us an education every time he was on this show. I could look at the old shows that we did.
I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to just mention that.
No, it's necessary.
I still have messages that he left me, on my phone.
Leroy was a trip.
And he called and asked, hey, brother, what about this? Brother, what about that? And we talk. My mother-in-law died July 19th.
Oh, that's right. Oh.
And she was in the house with us. And I was reading a passage out of Philippians to her as she laid there. And as I finished the chapter, she took her last breath.
Wow.
And I told my wife, you're blessed because you've had your mother into maturity. I lost my father, I was 4. And I see people that are bickering with their mother and their father. I said, you need to cut that out.
Enjoy the time.
Because not only do you not know what time, but there's no one that can replace mother. There's no one that can replace father. And every girl needs a daddy to show her what kind of man she should get involved with in life. And every boy needs a mother to see the kind of woman he needs to pursue in life. And we just like, Winston always talks about love.
That's what
And you
keeps
talked
me
about
alive.
the memories. And God gives us the ability to think back and recall.
Yeah.
And I know when I laid my mother to rest 34 years ago, I said to her, don't worry. We're grown now. You know, everybody's okay. But my mother was raising an 8-year-old, a 4-year-old, and a 3-year-old when my father died. And it was my grandmother that was there to help pick up the slack. And the sacrifices that these two women made so that we could grow and become solid pillars in the community. And my cousins tell me, well, you know, you're the patriarch of the family now. The last of our elder uncles has gone, and they say, you're the patriarch now. And I'm like, whoa, I'm the oldest man with my family.
So am I.
You know, and family is powerful. You know.
Well, we lost a family member right after Leroy,
Yeah.
Michael Hardy.
Rest in peace.
Man.
I after Leroy died, I said, God, you can't take Michael Hardy. How can you do that?
We're
How
all
can
going.
How can you do that?
We're all going.
I
No
mean,
one knows the day nor
but-
the hour.
this is Reverend Sharpton's right-hand man. I mean, 35 years. And behind Leroy, I said, Michael Hardy? Now, who's next? They'll all come in threes. I remember last time, important. Well, you know, these are kindred spirits. The nice folks. The
Black
good
men
guys.
who show us what black men are supposed to be
Good
like.
guys. How is the good guys go like that? I mean, they pay their dues, I mean, but loving energy. Michael Hardy was one of the nicest people you ever want to know. I mean, he was a kind spirit
Clemson Brown.
and smart. I played a video of us talking about 9/11 and
Saw that.
you saw that one, right? And this is 20 years ago. We had Bush dead to right. How he stole the 2000 election, how he's trying to steal 2004.
Right.
How that's right. This was 9/11.
Today.
Today
Today.
is 9/11. So, I got a video on 9/11. Where's the 9/11 video?
I don't know.
So we're going to really go to trauma. And we're going to show what kind of conniving country this is. The first sham of the 21st century. Ha!
We find strength in each other. There are lots of yokels and clowns and idiots out there, but we have to find strength in each other and acknowledging what each of us do and letting other people see what we do. There are people out there who have never known any men like you, and that hurts me. And because I think about some of the things that we should be doing with teenagers who are not our own birth children.
Well, they have
because-
to come on the Gilchrist experience and
or maybe
experience the
come-
experience.
Yes, and that's part of what we have to do. Share this with some of those young'uns.
We don't plan nothing. We just let God guide us.
Julian.
I don't know what I'm going to do.
We had Julian for years. Julian
Oh.
is in law school now. You know,
Look
in
at-
Michigan.
Look at
As a-
McHenry.
Reverend now.
Reverend McHenry started out here at the firehouse.
Oh,
The first show I did here at the firehouse was with McHenry.
I did not know that.
And we did shows all of 2023. He was here, that's my boy. Beverly, too. There's his mom inside there. That's one of our kids, you know, people who come through the system here. But what was I talking about? 9/11. Do you have a roll-in? Do you remember that 9/11 roll-in? I just want to run a few minutes. How much time we got? I lost track of time today. Well, you got to realize it's my first show in 2.5 months. So I'm feeling good. I had to make quite an effort to get here today. Oh,
If I may, I'd like to extend an invitation, particularly to some of the teenagers or the parents of teenagers who may watch this show, that their children can come down on Monday nights to 145th
Oh, yeah.
Street
Oh,
and
yeah.
meet people like the men we've just talked about.
mm-hmm.
And again, some of these teenagers never get a chance to meet men like that. We invite them to come down to 145th Street on Monday nights to get a free meal, and they get to meet with other teenagers and some outstanding men like those that we've just mentioned.
We lost Clemson Brown.
Oh, God.
Yeah, I think about Poughkeepsie and the trial back in '97.
What was,
He didn't allow this. But he's telling you about the real deal. All right, now we're going to tell the real deal about 9/11.
Who's
All
that
right,
fellow?
now run that piece. We'll be right back at you.
Few seconds, he took his hand off, and
2016.
you heard 3, 2,
watch
1,
this.
and he was just saying, just run for your life, just run for your life. And then it was like another 2, 3 seconds, you heard explosions, like boom. There's like a distinct sound. This was boom, and like you felt, sounded like a countdown. And at the last few seconds, he took his hand off, and you heard 3, 2, 1, and he was just saying, just run for your life, just run for your life. And then it was like another 2, 3 seconds, you heard explosions, like boom. There's like a distinct sound. This was boom, and like you felt a rumble in the ground, like almost like you wanted to grab onto something.
According to Larry Silverstein, on the morning of September 11, 2001, he attended an appointment with a dermatologist.
Where were you on September 11th?
You know, I was home. And the only reason I wasn't where I was every morning, subsequent to the 26th day of July, my mornings were spent usually at a breakfast meeting at Windows, an 8 o'clock breakfast meeting, Windows, the top of it, and then going down to visit with my tenants, my new tenants, at the trade center, getting to know them, understanding their problems and so forth, ascertaining how we could service their needs better, which is one of the first things you do when you acquire a property. You begin to meet your tenants and start talking with them. And so my mornings were spent at the trade center, and then by noon I was back uptown. And so that particular morning, because I have light-colored hair and fair skin, and I'm an annuity to the dermatologist, my wife, God bless her, had made an appointment for me at the doctor. And I remember dressing to go to the doctor. And finally saying to my wife, I said, sweetheart, I've got so much to do downtown. I gotta cancel this, I've gotta go downtown. And she said, you're not gonna cancel this appointment. You're going to the dermatologist. You know, having been married out to the same woman for 46 years, you get this sense of determination on occasion, their voices. And I said, okay, yes, dear, I'll go. And then just minutes later, received a telephone call, returned on a television set, and witnessed this horrendous circumstance. The first plane hitting, and then the second plane hitting. Of course, with the second hit, it became obvious that this was terrorism.
here you can see the explosion. Planned demolition.
See the, and they took the beams with the cordite, they sold to Japan to make cars. They said it was a federal crime scene. You couldn't take pictures. I was taking pictures. But the
Now,
steel they took
that's
and
planned
sold it.
genocide. Planned demolition. Genocide. Now, can you imagine being a fireman, rushing it, the most dedicated Americans, supposedly? You're running into a building to try to save lives,
running out,
and
you're
they
running
blow up the building on you?
I was at ground
Now
zero.
watch the memorial today on 9/11.
I saw a fire truck that was crushed.
Mm.
The truck was no taller than I was. And sticking out of the truck was clothing with tags from the Gap and other stores.
The people who thought they could loot it and get away, they didn't
The
know.
firemen looted it. They had
Right.
it in the truck.
They thought
They
could-
had looted it.
They didn't know
I
the
was
second
on a
building was going to
contract.
come down.
One World Financial Center on the other side of West Street, by the river, that building was impacted by the falling debris. Their trading floors were decimated. So I was on a private contract. We locked that building down because the heroes went in and stole PDAs, laptops, everything, and the firemen left their equipment in the building. They came back a couple of nights later to retrieve their property. We said, there's nothing here for you. But the fact was that the trading floor, where all the bonds were, these guys came in and stole the laptops and PDAs.
And bullion was supposed to be in that building also.
They know
No, the
what
bullion was in
they didn't
the
know what
US
the
Treasury
trade
had
of bonds
office
were.
in the World Trade Center.
The trade of
excess
bonds
gold
were.
bullion from Wall Street was there. They put everybody out the site because I worked the midnights looking down into the pit. They had everybody get off the site. The government came and pulled that gold, the vault with the gold bullion. They pulled it out and told them anything else you want to steal, you can steal. But this is U.S. government property, the gold bullion. There were bearer bonds on that trading floor.
How many people know what bearer bonds are, man?
It's a bond.
A piece
which
of paper
says
that
to the bearer, the money is given to. You present a bearer bond at the bank.
But you're running around and you see
and
this,
they
these
see
papers
PD,
on
right.
the floor.
They didn't know what
You
the
don't know
bonds
what it
were.
was.
There were trillions upon trillions of dollars in bearer bonds on that floor. But they took the junk. So they had us come in and lock down the building until the insurance adjusters and everybody could get in and do the cleanup. But a building can't fall. My mother was in the Empire State Building in the 1940s when a B-29 crashed into the Empire State Building. The Empire State Building is still standing. Last time I looked. A plane of that size could not bring down a building. There was no damage to the substructure below the impact area.
Kenny was working down there. You were working down there, right?
Yeah, but we told the story before. I mean,
You still have problems with your health from that?
yeah, I've just been I've been certified PTSD, girth, chronic asthmatic, and some lung issues, But I was down there. I worked in the World Trade Monday, in front of World Trade Monday. Went home, cut my finger. I'll make a long story short. And then I didn't come in on Tuesday. The building came down on Tuesday. And exactly in the hole that I was supposed to be working in manhole.
Oh, you were working the Monday before the...
I was working that Monday in front of the World Trade. The day before.
The day before?
Yeah, and then the
okay.
Tuesday the building came down in the hole that I was supposed to be working, the manhole that I was supposed to be working in. And then the city shut down.
But you weren't there?
No, but how I got affected is that the city was shut down. Wednesday shut the whole city down. Thursday the National Guard brought us back in, and what our job was to do was to bring the fiber optics back up for the stock market.
This is when the EPA commissioner said it's healthy, you can go back in.
Yeah.
Right.
Cindy Todd Whitman.
Oh, you were vital.
Right.
You were vital.
So
oh,
what we
wow.
did, and quickly, when you pull a manhole, all the debris comes up out of the hole. I didn't know no better at the time, I was gun-ho young man, and I inhaled a lot of it, dealt with it for a while. I was down there for about maybe 3-4 months, and I've always been an athlete, and later on in life, I realized that I'm having problems, breathing. And I went to the World Trade Victims Compensation, and they said, yeah, you've been affected by, the debris that was down there. And I've got certified in certain medical problems. I live every day to its fullest. I like fussing with Mr. Gilchrist because he's a fighter. But I try not to have any hate in me, and I try to love as much as I can because tomorrow's not guaranteed.
Well, my wife just came out and said we have a minute.
We have a minute, and I'll sit back and say, listen, as far as that's concerned, rejoice his name.
The God in me loves the God in you. And stay tuned for more of the Gilchrist experience. We always come at you with things from our heart. And God is love. So that's how we present it lovingly. Amen. Power to the people. God bless.
Black power.
Power to the people.
When I was at the ocean tank, they said human ash, human bone.
If you inhale that.
Plaster, concrete, asbestos.